Bulletcast for life.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Under the Radar. My name is Brandon Tanguma, and on today's episode, we're going to be going over the latest episode of Total Divas NXT, as well as Wrestle Kingdom starting to take shape. But first, let's talk about the big news coming out of the weekend, and that is the Saudi Arabia situation. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably know what's happened. There was something going on in Saudi Arabia that the most of the crew was unable to fly back from Saudi Arabia to Buffalo, New York, where SmackDown was taking place. There was a few that were able to get out before this whole situation took place. Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff, or not Eric Bischoff, he's not with the company anymore. Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon, as well as I think Kevin Dunn, maybe those other close personal people were able to get out, and most of the WWE crew had to stick behind. And the the explanation that WWE is telling everybody, and they're firmly standing behind this, is that there was some technical issues, some mechanical problem with the plane. That's why they were unable to go. I'm sitting here right now, and I'm gonna say I don't believe it. I believe the reports, or not, maybe not the reports, but the speculation that there might have been some sort of disagreement with Vince McMahon and the Saudi prince, Saudi government, something possibly doing with a pay dispute. People are inferring that the Saudi Arabian government was supposed to pay them by like the end of the month or before the show, and they didn't do that. They did it kind of at the last minute, and for retribution, the Saudi government was maybe making them sweat a little bit, and maybe messing up their show on Friday, whether knowing or not that they had a show on Friday. And they kept the crew over. They weren't really telling the crew what was going on. They were on the plane originally for I think like 4 to 6 hours. Then they were taken off the plane. They were told to just stay in the hotel. Really wasn't told what was going on, but they were fed apparently very nicely, treated well. They were told to order whatever you want, and then they came back and they were able to land, I believe, Saturday morning. I believe so. So, pretty much like a 24-hour situation that was going on over there. And then after the fact, on Monday, there was news coming out that after all this, there was some wrestlers that were tweeting some things. Rusev and I think Andrade, Buddy Murphy. There were some other people that were tweeting some things that maybe hinted that they weren't. Obviously, I think a lot of people were uncomfortable with the situation. They didn't know what was going on. And that kind of fueled the speculation for what was going on in Saudi Arabia. So on Monday, there was a meeting that was held before Raw where Vince McMahon and others, I think, kind of firmly stood by that there was mechanical issues, nothing else really to speak of, and that the wrestlers need to cut back on their social media usage or whatever, because that's kind of what really fueled all this speculation and all these rumors and innuendos about Vince McMahon getting into it with somebody. And then there was kind of it could have turned into an international situation. And then Seth Rollins comes out, allegedly, this is all from Dave Meltzer, we're going to get to that in a little bit, that Seth Rollins apparently gave, quote, a rah-rah speech to the locker room, telling them, to social media is bad, okay, and to don't post everything. Your whole life doesn't need to be on social media. And then, ironically, after Raw was done, Seth Rollins got onto social media, onto Twitter, and he tweeted, and he kind of threw some shots at old Dave Meltzer, saying that it wasn't a rah-rah speech or whatever. So the guy who was giving the rah-rah speech about social media being bad goes on a little tirade about someone reporting about social media being bad. But anyways, and also on that Monday, that people were saying, oh, maybe there's a lot of wrestlers that are saying they're never going to go back there again. Obviously, Sami Zayn, Dana Bryan, all the women, well, most of the women didn't go over there, which kind of helped SmackDown, so they were able to have Dana Bryan and pretty much all of the women's roster to their disposal. But WWE announced that they are expanding their partnership with Saudi Arabia. So after all this stuff that went on this past weekend, WWE announced yesterday that they are going to expand the agreement through 2027. Yes, 2027. I almost said 2017. That's not a real year. But they're going to run the agreement through 2027. There is already an agreement to have 2 events per year in Saudi Arabia. Maybe escalate that, but yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on with Saudi Arabia. I mean, I don't think they're not gonna have any more shows the rest of the year, but definitely we have to keep our eye out for the shows that are coming up. If there are wrestlers that they're gonna talk all this big talk right now after all this stuff happened, but then the show comes around and they remember how good of a paycheck it was, and it was like, okay, maybe it was just a one-time thing, maybe it was just a mechanical issue and there was nothing else really to write home about. But we will have to stay tuned and find out about that. I mean, I don't know if we're going to ever really know what happened. I mean, if it was just a mechanical issue, you would think that people would tell us or tell the media or something just to kind of quiet down all the speculation. I mean, I heard that there was like some fuel issue, that they weren't able to get enough fuel, but it's Saudi Arabia, the place is practically swimming in oil. I don't believe that. The other mechanical issues, we're not getting like an exact reason for why the plane wasn't taking off. And I mean, the people who allegedly were in that dispute, Vince McMahon, a Saudi prince or something, like those people are probably not going to tell. I mean, if you go to like political reporters and stuff, they'll tell you that it's very hard to get information out of the Saudi Arabia government. No one's going to tell, because if something leaks and they figure out who it was, then something bad might happen to them. So if anything, it might have to come from the WWE side, and I think Vince McMahon and his people are going to probably try to keep these things under wraps. Now, moving on to some more lighthearted stuff, WWE has officially confirmed some new signings. They announced that a few wrestlers have joined the Performance Center. We have Shotzi Blackheart. She has wrestled many, many times in the Bay Area around here. She was on the Evolve show that went head to head with AEW on the WWE Network. We have Indy Hartwell and Evolve referee Stefan Smith. But the big name that everyone's going to be talking about is that the Smokeshow, Scarlett Bordeaux, has officially signed with WWE. They have confirmed the signing. We kind of knew about this for a little while, but the Smokeshow Charlotte. I think her name's going to be Scarlett because I think they already have a Charlotte on the roster. But Scarlett Bordeaux is going to be in WWE. No Killer Cross, her husband, boyfriend, I don't even know exactly what they are, but he's nowhere to be seen. And as I kind of talked about in the past, it's going to be interesting to see how they use her going forward. I think she is an underrated wrestler. I think people just kind of see her shtick, her gimmick of being, the smoke show, the sex bomb that she is, that they're like, oh, she's just ass and titties and she can't really wrestle. But she can wrestle. Like, not saying she's going to go out there and have a 10-star classic in the Tokyo Dome. But I think she does, very well. And I think if she was to be on the AEW roster, I think she could be a pretty decent wrestler on compared to a lot of some of the other women that they have on their roster. And then on the NXT side, if she is going to go to NXT, and who knows what's going to happen with the NXT being on USA, is they're going to try to keep everybody on the roster. They're going to do call ups and try to move through talent like they normally do on NXT. But I wonder what Scarlett's gimmick is going to be. Her photo, she has heavy makeup on, she has the red lipstick, so definitely she kind of playing in to her smoke show gimmick. I think she will be the quote-unquote smoke show in WWE. Maybe she gets a name change. I wouldn't be shocked if we see that. And possibly we could see her, maybe dial it back. Maybe if you've seen kind of her ring attire, it's a little scantily clad. Maybe she covers up a little bit, but she's still probably going to be a little bit revealing. Now going on, I mean, Shotzi Blackheart. I mean, I know her. I think she's really good. I think she can be a good tool in the women's division. Now, the other wrestlers, honestly, I don't know too much about them, but we'll have to stay tuned and find out. I have the utmost faith that NXT will use these women quite nicely. So now moving on to New Japan, we got some big news coming out of the New Japan press conference that happened yesterday night, early this morning, whatever you want to call it, but they have New Japan is returning to America this weekend. They're going to have a show in San Jose on Saturday, and there's going to be a show in LA on Monday. So stay tuned for that. The San Jose show is going to stream live head to head with AEW's Full Gear on New Japan World, and they have announced the cards for both shows. I think I'm just going to go over the San Jose show. It's the one I'm going to. It's kind of the bigger show because it is being aired live. So we got the main event being Kazuchika Okada and Will Ospreay taking on Kota Ibushi and Amazing Red. We got Tetsuya Naito and Shingo Takagi taking on Jay White and Chase Owens. We got the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match with the champ Lance Archer defending against David Finlay. We got the Rev Pro British Cruiserweight Championship. El Phantasmo defending against Sho. We got Hiroki Goto, Yo, and Rocky Romero taking on Kenta, Taichi Ishimori, and Jado. Tomohiro Ishii, Juice Robinson, TJP taking on Evil, Sonata, and Bushi. We get friend of the podcast, Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors taking on Minoru Suzuki and El Desperado. Then, in his final match in the United States, we get Jushin Thunder Liger and Aaron Solo, or Bailey's husband, taking on Toru Yano and Colt Cabana. So that should be a fun match there. And then in the opener, we get Ren Narita taking on Alex Coughlin. So, not a super jam-packed singles lineup. A lot of tag team matches. Might get a little house show vibe from it. But as always, it's kind of fun to see these, these big-time named wrestlers wrestle in America. Wrestle Kingdom is coming up, and we're going to talk about that right now. So there was a power struggle show on Saturday that I watched. Quite enjoyed. Nothing too big to really come out of it in terms of like matches and results, but a lot of the news coming out of it was some returns, matches being set up for Wrestle Kingdom 14, and the big one that I think a lot of people are talking about in the United States mainstream wrestling bubble is that Chris Jericho is going to come back to Wrestle Kingdom. He is going to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. So now Wrestle Kingdom is going to take place on the 4th and the 5th, a Saturday and a Sunday. So we kind of know we're going to know the matches that are going to happen on night 1. The main attractions are going to be the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, Kazuchika Okada defending against the G1 Climax winner Kota Ibushi. And then we're going to get the IC Championship, the champion Jay White defending against Tetsuya Naito. And then night 2. There's been a lot of speculation. I've been talking about it throughout the year. A lot of double champs. A lot of people want to be double champs. And New Japan has announced that the winner of those 2 matches will face off in night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom to become a double champ. So we're going to have the singles championships decide. I guess we're going to have one IC and one heavyweight title match on night 1, and then we're going to have a champ match on night 2, as well as Chris Jericho taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. If you remember back to Dominion in June, Chris Jericho took on Kazuchika Okada, and Chris Jericho beat down Okada, even though he lost after the match, but Tanahashi was on commentary. Tanahashi came to the aid of Okada, his long rival, now pseudo friend. I, and many others, I'm not going to just take credit for this, speculated that maybe, you can go back to that Okada match, or you can also do a Tanahashi match. And obviously, Tanahashi doesn't really have anything going on. And that's kind of what he said in his rebuttal to Jericho's little video. I think he posted it on his Instagram if you haven't checked that out. Go and look that up. But Chris Jericho taking on Tanahashi, night 2 of Wrestle Kingdom. That should be fantastic. And also, we have the returning Hiromu Takahashi. He is going to be taking on Will Ospreay. And oh my god, this was just absolutely amazing. We get a time bomb vignette, and then we get Daryl, and then we get like new Daryl. I don't even know what the name is. It's like a red cat. And he lights the fuse, and the time bomb goes off, and then Hiromu Takahashi comes out. He's been gone for 16 months. I was there in the Cow Palace with his fantastic match against Dragon Lee. He got suplexed on his head, broke his neck. He's been gone for 16 months, but now Hiromu Takahashi is back, and hopefully better than ever. With injuries like this, I'm kind of said I'm scared. I'm hoping that they are 100%. They don't, go back and they try to do too much and they hurt themselves. Daniel Bryan, I've kind of gotten past the fear of Daniel Bryan hurting himself again because he's been around for long enough that I kind of feel like, okay, he is back. But now Hiromu, he's kind of my new guy that I'm worried about. But he came out, challenged Ospreay, and it'll seemingly he is going to face Ospreay. I think it is going to be Yes, it's going to be on night one. So the preliminary uh, card thus far for Wrestle Kingdom, we got the IC title and the heavyweight title taking place. We got the IWGP Junior title with Will Ospreay taking on Hiromu Takahashi, and then we have the first of two Jushin Liger matches. So the first one on January 4th, we get Jushin Liger with Tetsuya Fujinami, Great Sasuke and Tiger Mask taking on Sano and a bunch of other people. And then on January 5th, we got the IWGP Heavyweight Champion taking on the IC Champion for the Champ status, and then the two non-champions following those matches will take on in a singles match. So the two non-champions following the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and Intercontinental Championship match on January 4th, we'll have a singles match. So I don't know if that means they're going to face each other or if they're going to face somebody else. So that's going to be two matches right there. And then we got Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on Chris Jericho. And then we got Taiji Ishimori and El Phantasmo taking on Sho and Yo for the IWGP Junior Tag Team titles. Still don't know what Jushin Liger's final match is going to be on that January 5th show. But there's plenty of time between now and Wrestle Kingdom. We are 2 months away from Wrestle Kingdom. I cannot wait. This is going to be so much fun. 2 nights. I know a lot of people are saying that WrestleMania should be doing this. I don't know if WrestleMania really has enough, high-powered star people to really have 2 nights. I mean, they're going to throw matches on regardless, but anyways, I mean, these matches are going to be fantastic. I'm going to have a lot of fun at the New Japan show on Sunday, or on Saturday rather. But if you're going to give me, I'm going to have to make a prediction on who I think is going to wrestle for the champ status. I will go with new champs Kota Ibushi taking on Tetsuya Naito. I know I'm scared to see them wrestle because they're probably going to try to kill each other, especially if it's for champ status at the main event of Wrestle Kingdom Night 2. But that's kind of the match I want to see. I think it can be fantastic. I mean, JYT is a fantastic heel. And Okada, he's one of the greatest of all time. Greatest title run I've ever seen when he held the title last year. But I'm going to go with new champ taking on new champ for champ. Kota Ibushi taking on Tetsuya Naito. Now moving on to the NXT television report. We got a fantastic show, another stellar NXT show. This took place on October 30th, 2019 from Full Sail University. As always, the announcers are Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Beth Phoenix. The opening was very different than normal. We did not get the Slipknot vignette. We got Poppy doing a live performance of I Disagree with highlights of NXT on the big screen behind her, and she sang the song, and then Io Shirai comes out, and then Poppy sings Scary Mask. Poppy follows Io Shirai down the ramp, and Io does her whole entrance, and that was the opening scene. I really much enjoyed it. It was not my type of music, but I mean, not my type of music, but I just, I wasn't really a big fan of the music, but I did like the aesthetic. I liked the kind of feel of it. NXT, I think, does a really good job at picking like the right music. It has good contemporary high octane music for their shows, for takeovers for NXT. Normally, I mean, I love the Slipknot song. I mean, they had Billie Eilish on before. They're really good at picking good contemporary music. Something I think WWE used to do pretty good. They used to have good high octane songs, but now it's just kind of not poppy, but just kind of like soft rock, and it's just kind of easy listenable music. And I think with NXT, and I think also with AEW, I think AEW thus far has kind of done a good job with their music choices. Not trying to entrance music, but I'm more thinking along the lines of setting the scene and getting you amped. I think the song they have for the Dynamite show is good, but I do think NXT does a much better job at their music selection, not only for the songs for the takeover shows and the themes, but just for the entrance music of the wrestlers as well. Then Candice LeRae comes out to make her way to the ring, and the opening contest is Candice LeRae taking on Io Shirai, and Io wins in 13 minutes. Strong opening contest, and not as good of a match as the Match that had a takeover a few months ago, but I thought that match was absolutely fantastic. I thought that match was honestly the second best match of the show behind the Gargano Cole match. The takeover match, fantastic. One of the best women's matches of the year, honestly. This match, I thought it was good, but maybe it dragged a little bit, but still good in the end. Io wins. Nothing really much to say. I think this kind of adds that Io is going to be moving up on the pecking order, possibly. I mean, she's getting good reactions. I feel like I keep saying this all the time. Maybe she's just going to be the no nonsense babyface, and just who knows what's going to happen. But Nigel said that Sports Illustrated broke the news that Keith Lee chose Matt Riddle to face Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Oh my gosh, I wonder what's going to happen. But after the women's match, Shirai attacked Candice LeRae, and then Rhea made the save and picked up the chair to send Shirai running as the fans chanted for Rhea. We get a video package that included new comments from Finn Balor, weaved in from FS1's backstage, as well as some TMZ interviews, or TMZ interview that he did outside of an airport. And I thought it was a good kind of setup for the return of Finn Balor, for him to cut his promo after what all happened a few weeks ago. I thought that that was really well done, kind of making it seem like a really big deal that Finn Balor, a big deal that Finn Balor did this and who Finn Balor is, that a lot of people are trying to find out what he's doing. They hyped that Damian Priest giving Pete Dunne a low kick that beat him 2 weeks ago, and then Phoenix announced that Pete Dunne will take on Damian Priest next week or tomorrow. On NXT, Finn Balor makes his way to the ring. They went to the long shot of the stage, and they really captured the excitement of Balor coming onto the stage. Balor did his arm extension gimmick to the beat of the music. I think he only did that one time, and then afterwards he did not do it. Then he made a cocky strut down. He entered the ring and began to say, "It's funny how things work out." Some fans chanted, "Thank you, Finn." Balor said, "2 months ago I was laying down for what was supposed to be the hottest thing in the business just because he put on a new mask." Ooh, that's a shoot, brother. Obviously talking about the Fiend. And then he said, "Well, I just took my mask off and now I'm the hottest thing in the business." He said, "As usual, everyone has their opinions, including the fans, the office, the boys in the back, and a bunch of Twitter tough guys on social media." He said, "There's too many fans in the locker room, and when they should be sitting out here with all the people." He said, "Let's make one thing clear. I don't want this business. I don't watch this business. The business watches me." Balor leaned on the top rope and looked right into the hard camera, "Which brings me to you, Johnny Gargano, the heart of NXT." He said it with a ton of snark. Fantastic way that Finn is carrying himself here. Definitely a heel, playing into his little Prince Devitt persona. He said that he heard that he was hospitalized. He said if he has his way, he'll send him right back, straight back, next chance that he gets. And you won't be Johnny Wrestling, you'll be Johnny Watches Wrestling. Exactly the way it's supposed to be. Short, concise, fantastic. Finn, I mean, he was never known as a great promo guy. I wouldn't go out there and trust him to cut a 15-minute promo, but you tell him go out there, talk for 5 minutes. Here's what you got to get over. Call out Johnny, put your character over. And that's exactly what he did. It was just fantastic. Maybe the highlight of the entire NXT show. Absolutely loved it. If you haven't, definitely go and check it out. They run a video package on Asuka and Kairi Sane hyping up their appearance. I said this on the Bulletcast last week. This 30-second video package that they ran on Asuka and Kairi made me so hyped for the match. It did so much more for these two women as the Kabuki Warriors than anything WWE has done since they've been a team. Absolutely loved it. Fantastic stuff here. We get a brief vignette on Tyler Bate, including him teaming with Trent Seven and punching out Cameron Grimes last week. We get Shane Thorne taking on a Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed gets the win in 4 minutes. I thought it was it was an okay match. I mean, Shane Thorne was kind of the guy getting a little bit of a push. He wrestled Johnny Gargano. Bronson Reed was kind of coming out of the Rising Stars tournament. He wasn't really doing a whole lot, so I thought it was kind of interesting they gave Bronson Reed the win here. But just kind of a standalone match. Who knows what's going to happen down the line? I think they do have some interest in Bronson Reed. He's a good character, has a good look, and I'm going to wait to see what they do with him. We get Kathy Kelly interviewing Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox backstage about getting their shot against the Kabuki Warriors. They put up a front of confidence, but gave up a sense of suppressing some nervousness about. So the up and coming baby faces, obviously nervous but trying to put on a brave face. We get a Mia Yim vignette aired. I am the rose that grew from the concrete. So I think it's pretty similar to what they've been that they ran, a few months ago when they're really building up Mia Yim. She hasn't been on TV a whole lot, so just kind of one of those things to put up there and just be like, look, Mia Yim's here. She'll be back eventually. And yeah, so before the top of the second hour, we get Asuka and Kairi Sane taking on Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship. This match was 24 minutes and it bled into the second hour, and the Kabuki Warriors win in that 24 minutes. I thought it was a good match. I thought it was good, just kind of old school heat building where they just worked on Dakota Kai forever, and you just wanted to see her get the hot tag to Tegan Nox. They just couldn't do it. The Kabuki Warriors just kept cutting her off. And 24 minutes, I thought that was a bit long. You could have cut, a few minutes off it. Could have even made it 18 minutes, 15 minutes at all, but maybe it was just kind of they were looking and they didn't want to see Bronson Reed and Shane Thorne go too long. They didn't want to all these other matches. They kind of spaced it out and they kind of had everything. I mean, kind of looking, they only had 5 matches on the entire card, so 5 matches in 2 hours with not a long talking segment in here. This match was definitely there to kind of bleed out the time, and it was good, but. The match could have been a lot shorter, and if it was a lot shorter, I think it could have been a little bit better. But I really liked the ending sequence there. So as the ref yelled at Zayn for leaning through the ropes, Asuka escaped Dakota Kai's fireman's carry and sprayed her with the green mist. She blinded Kai with the roundhouse kick to the face, and then Zayn hit her signature insane elbow for the 1-2-3. But what Zayn did, she covered Dakota Kai's face so the referee couldn't see that she had the green mist on. Because one thing about the mist, it just gets everywhere, and it's just like, okay, the referee clearly can see that the mist was used, and why doesn't he DQ anybody? But I thought they did a really great job. I think by far the best job they've done thus far. Maybe the best job I've ever seen. I don't watch a lot of Japanese stuff using the green mist, so I don't really know. I mean, obviously Bushi uses the green mist. And shout out to Will Ospreay versus Bushi from Power Struggle. Will Ospreay sucked the mist out of Bushi's mouth and then sprayed him with it. So that was a interesting visual. If you haven't, I suggest you go and look that up, of Will Ospreay kissing or sucking the mist out of Bushi's mouth. But anyways, I thought very well done finishing sequence here. Great heel tactics by the Kabuki Warriors. As I said, I thought they were just carried so much gravitas, portrayed such much better than what they've been doing in WWE. Then after the fact, Nox was confronted by Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamine Duke. They came out, they looking like it was a perfect opportunity to take care of those vulnerable, the team kick. Kairi and Asuka scurried out, nowhere to be seen. Beth Phoenix described their actions as deplorable and blah, 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 blah. Rhea Ripley came out for the save. So there were 3 heels and 3 baby faces. Duke and Shafir knocked the other 2 out, and they held their ground. Shirai charged, and Bianca Belair comes out, and Io Shirai's there, so we get 4-on-4, seemingly, who knows, but William Regal comes out, and he just says War Games. So the crowd pop. Mauro Ranallo said that they're going to make history at TakeOver, so we get, seemingly, Baszler, Shafir, Duke, Shirai, and Belair at ring on one side, and then we're going to have Rhea, Tegan Nox, Dakota Kai, and Candice LeRae on the other side. So for the heels, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the babyface side, so I think we're going to get another babyface on the... Obviously, we're on the babyface on the babyface side. So, who knows what that last person's going to be. Maybe they take out one of the 4 horsewomen. Maybe they take out Jessamine Duke or Shafir. Maybe they just do 5-on-5. But I thought it was a hot angle to set up the women's War Games match. First ever women's War Games match. So that should be exciting and a talking point going into Survivor Series weekend. Next up, we get Tyler Bate taking on Cameron Grimes, and my boy Cameron Grimes gets the victory in 13 minutes. Good back and forth action here. Grimes didn't go over super clean, however, but Tyler Bate was going for the Tyler Driver 97, but Grimes blocked it and backed out and allowed Bate clotheslined Grimes over the top rope and landed a kick, and then he flew over the top rope onto Grimes. Fans chanted NXT. Killian Dane walked to ringside and distracted Bate briefly. Grimes was then able to surprise Bate with his double stomp for the 3 count. So still, once again, we get Cameron Grimes and Killian Dane sort of working in cahoots, but not explicitly. So maybe we get a tag team with them, maybe some sort of partnership, but nothing overt yet. But after the match, Dane attacked a vulnerable Bate with a senton. McGuinness said Pete Dunne broke Dane's fingers, and he's taking it out on his boy Bate. Dane attacked Bate with a running cannonball against the ringside steps. He then bent down and told Bate to tell his friend Dunne that he means business. So Pete Dunne, not there, does not make the save, but obviously setting up the match between the two men. Good stuff all the way around, setting up a match between Pete Dunne and Killian Dane. Cameron Grimes gets the victory. Obviously, not super duper clean, but clean enough that it definitely builds his credibility as he keeps getting these wins. And yeah, so they showed O'Reilly and Fish warming up backstage, kicking some pads with Roderick Strong. An ad said that NXT would air immediately right after the show ends. A vignette on Angel Garza. He talked about his family roots in pro wrestling. They showed pictures of Hector Garza in WCW. He said he wants to be like his uncle and do everything he did and more for the next generation and to make him proud and expand the Garza dynasty. So Angel Garza definitely getting a push from NXT. He was in the match last week. He was in that match with Tommaso Ciampa a few weeks ago. So Angel Garza is definitely going to be a focal point in definitely the cruiserweight division. Possibly, I don't know if he's kind of a baby. He was a babyface in this situation, kind of a heel against Tommaso Ciampa a few weeks ago. So we're gonna have to wait and see what exactly they do with Angel Garza. Kathy Kelly talked about Regal's War Game announcement. She said that CBS Sports just broke the news that Baszler and Ripley would captain each team. So then we get Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, Red Dragon, taking on Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. And the match ends in 14 minutes with Red Dragon, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly getting the win. Obviously, we get Roderick Strong and Adam Cole get into the mix. They ran out and went after Riddle. Riddle fended them off and a springboard onto the floor of them with a twisting acai moonsault. He threw a Fish back into the ring and hit a ripcord knee strike. Lee then knocked Cole into the air, sending him crashing into Strong. And then Fish and O'Reilly, though, then hit the high-low on Riddle for the win. So obviously the rest of Undisputed Era comes out. They beat up on them and they get the tainted victory. Matt Riddle doesn't eat a lot of pins, so surprisingly that he ate it here. I mean, Keith Lee has been losing a lot recently, so maybe that was them trying to save Keith Lee a little bit because he has been losing a lot. And Matt Riddle has only, I think, been pinned 1 or 2 times, so I think having this be a loss here, I think it's good. Not, detrimental to Adam Cole or to Matt Riddle, but it hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. But anyways, it was a lot of fun and it lived up to the expectations. So then afterwards, Undisputed Era attacked Riddle and Lee. Tommaso Ciampa ran out to make the save with his crutch. He took him out one by one, and then Cole backed off. O'Reilly jumped in. Ciampa threw him hit him with the crutch, then kicked him in the stomach. And then Riddle then gave O'Reilly a final flash knee. Lee gave the crutch back to Ciampa, then pressed O'Reilly and threw him onto his 3 partners at ringside. And then the crowd's chanting NXT, NXT. Ciampa gets the mic. He looked down at Goldie and he said that, Goldie, you're going to have to wait because Daddy's going to war. That seemingly sets up a NXT War Games match on the men's side of things. I mean, definitely it would seem that way. People can also read into it that maybe that was a sign of things to come with NXT and Survivor Series. But I think we will get two War Games matches, one on the men's side, one on the women's side, which shows that there's not going to be a title match at NXT Takeover this year. We're going to get, women's match. I think that another reason is why they did that is because we're going to get the NXT inclusion into Survivor Series, which means you're not going to want to have all these title matches going into Survivor Series because it could, you're building up all these matches and then it could foresee that something is not going to happen. But especially with Shayna Baszler with that one already in the books, Shayna, Becky, and Bayley. I got some issues with that. I'll get into that on the Bulletcast on a Thursday, but a good, solid episode of NXT. Definitely would recommend to watch it. I mean, NXT and AEW continue to thrive. I thought this was by far the best Wednesday of wrestling. Both shows really hit their stride here, and I think we're definitely, past the opening few weeks where they're kind of getting their feet wet. They're kind of figuring out what they want to do, and now I think they're definitely starting to hit their stride, and they're starting to get the ball rolling on where they're trying to go. Especially with AEW having full gear coming up this weekend, and then you got AEW or NXT doing the Takeover and Survivor Series going forward, with NXT doing the whole Takeover thing in literal Takeover for SmackDown and Raw. It's going to be interesting to see what the show is going to be tomorrow. Do we get some run-ins from WWE talent? Is it just going to be, everything goes as normal? I think that NXT has done a decent enough job kind of, keeping things kayfabe wise pretty good. I think they've had, especially on SmackDown, they had Tommaso Ciampa on one side, Adam Cole on the other, and Tommaso Ciampa was just fixated on Goldie. He wouldn't look away. Wherever Adam Cole and Goldie walked, Tommaso Ciampa's eyes followed, so I thought that was a good move. But I'm just not a big fan of this whole Survivor Series brand of warfare. Raw, raw. We're Team NXT, we're Team SmackDown, we're Team Raw. We're going to fight each other because we care about brand supremacy, even though they're wrestlers and they shouldn't care about brand supremacy. They just should worry about getting titles and making that money, baby. But anyways, I digress. We can talk about that a little bit more on the Bulletcast. But finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, we get Total Divas from last Tuesday. As kind of talked about this one on the Bulletcast last week as well. Naomi wanted to throw a little party, a little vacation, a staycation, or one might say. So she rented a house in, where was it? Somewhere in Florida. But she wanted to make the Iconics feel like they were at home. So she put up all these Australian flags, and they wanted to have Australian food and whatever. But Naomi and Charlie Caruso, or was it Liv Morgan? Naomi and friend apparently does not know the difference between the Australian flag and the UK flag. They're putting up the UK flag instead of the Australian flag, but it is what it is. They tried their damnedest. The Iconics felt sorry for them. So then they go out, they have a party, they go drinking. The Iconics don't drink. Then they bring over Liv Morgan. Apparently invited the whole bar to come over the next night or the next day at the rental. The Iconics aren't feeling it. They're tired. They're homesick. They just want to chill. And so instead of just staying at the rental house, I looked it up. They're going back to Orlando or whatever the hell they're from. And it was a 2-hour flight or drive or something. So they're tired, but yet they want to get on a plane or fly or drive, an extra few hours so that they can just stay at the home. But, it is what it is. But that was the whole Naomi thing. They have fun. Naomi's stressing out that, the Iconics weren't having fun, and she's trying to do it because this is something the Bella Twins do or Natty does. Everybody, they always have, once a season, they have their vacation getaway, which they previewed on the show that we're going to get the whole vacation, and it's basically the episode look, everybody's in their bikinis, so stay tuned. You're going to get some sex appeal later on, so don't stay tuned, stay with us. We're going to give you what you want. But they go back and forth, and Naomi's oh my god, no one's having any fun, it's going to be so bad. But yeah, so then we move on to the Adventures of Carmela. WrestleMania's coming up, and R-Truth wants to start doing a thing with Carmella, she wants to do like a rap or do a song with her, and she doesn't. She's not, she's a dancer. She's not a singer. So then they tried, and then she doesn't do it. But then Naomi is gets called in to do the rap, and then she does the rap, and it was actually not that bad. And then our Truth wants Naomi to do the rap, but then he was just playing with her to try to motivate her, light a fire under her ass, and then it does, and then Carmella sings the song, and it was fine, and I don't even think that we ever heard that song make it to air, so all that work for nothing. Then we get to Sonya Deville. She's having some issues with her girlfriend. The mom is giving her some stuff. She really wants them to move in together, trying to look for a new house. WrestleMania's coming up. That's just adding some extra stress. I think she lives in Fort Lauderdale, and then the girlfriend lives in Tampa, so it's kind of a ways away. I'm not the best with Florida geography, but anyways, they live apart. They don't have a lot of time together, so they're trying to move in together, and they're trying to have a nice fun life with each other. The mom is asking for kids and moving in and all this other stuff, and Sonya's like, whoa, 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 slow your roll, jabroni. And they have a talk, and they say, once once WrestleMania comes and goes, we can do we can do this. We can look for houses. We can do all that stuff. And yeah, so that was pretty much about it. Thank y'all very much for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure. And definitely go and check out the Bulletcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, wherever the hell it is. We're going to go to the Under the Radar mailbag. And as always, nobody emails that piece of shit. But if you like to email it, it is utrmailbag@gmail.com. That is utrmailbag@gmail.com. Tune in to the Bulletcast on Thursday. If you want, tune in to my other show that I do, Curveballs and Sure Shots. We dropped that last Saturday, previewing Week 9 in the NFL. Talked about the World Series, NBA, and all that other good fun stuff. We are going to drop another episode on Saturday, previewing maybe not specifically previewing, but it will be before the New Japan show. We're going to preview Week 10 of the NFL. All the news and notes from wrestling, sports, and everything in between. So thank you all very much for tuning in. My name is Brandon Tanguma. This has been Under the Radar, and until next time, goodbye and good night. Bye-bye.